what they're doing, what they're eating, what they're drinking. So this next topic, of course, has many concern. A teenager from South Carolina recently died, and officials say caffeine is the culprit. According to the coroner, the teen drank a large diet Mountain Dew, a cafe latte, and an energy drink, all within the span of, get this, 2 hours. The coroner called his death a caffeine-induced cardiac event. Now, most of us never heard of such a thing. Joining us now to explain, we welcome our medical contributor, Dr. Ali Kasraeian.
Yay, Dr. Ali.
Hello, thank you for joining us.
Someone had their caffeine today.
Actually, I did, 7 days a week.
Yes, exactly. But this is really disconcerting.
Sure.
I mean, first of all, it sounds like he really did have a lot of caffeine in the span of 2 hours. But how much does someone have to have in that span of 2 hours? And can too much caffeine really, truly kill you and cause you to have a heart attack or whatever?
Obviously, it can.
It's crazy.
Well, let me ask you, what do you guys think?
I think, first of all, I think it's unfortunate. I think as humans, we have, for years, we have heard the dangers of caffeine, of these drinks. We know what they can do. And it's unfortunate that he did this within 2 hours. He had to have known better. I mean,
but I think nobody knows the really caffeine levels in these drinks.
Yeah.
I
oh,
mean,
if you turn and read the nutrition facts,
but
you
who
can
does
know.
that, and especially
To be honest with you,
teenager?
if you look, a lot of these things actually don't have the actual caffeine breakdown into them. You know, they have a lot of information in there. You have to search, but the caffeine is not in there. So you have to do a lot of snooping.
So what's the amount that he actually consumed, and what's the daily amount that you should consume?
So it's 6 milligrams per kilogram if you kind of break it down per weight. There's a lot of research to kind of figure out what.
Don't make us do
Yeah,
Come
that's
on.
So if you look, it's really difficult to tell. But some European studies were done, large studies that looked and came up with that math, and it's about 300 to 400 milligrams per day. So per day. So he took a large amount. Now to keep in mind, he's a young guy. So for people younger than 18, the American Academy of Pediatrics, number of organizations say less than 100. So it's this idea of moderation. So what he took, you know, when they look at what he took, he had a cafe latte, he had a large diet Mountain Dew, and an energy drink. So I kind of went and did a little bit of math, and I took a little bit of snooping around, you know, looking at Dr. Google, which I've had all these kind of coffee cups that say, you know, your Dr. Google doesn't replace my medical degree. So
Never.
I found that interesting. But you have to do a little bit of snooping to find this information, but you can. So assuming it's a small cafe latte, that's 77 milligrams of caffeine. A 12-ounce Mountain Dew has 54 milligrams, so a large being 32 fluid ounces, that had 140, and an energy drink has about 114. So that's 331 milligrams in 2 hours. So for an adult, 200 milligrams in a short period of time is significant and too much. So he had more than most adults' daily doses in 1 hour. And what can do is, think about what caffeine does. Caffeine is a stimulant. So it gets to your brain quickly, it keeps you awake, it keeps you from being tired, and it gets you can get anxious.
Now, what does it do to the heart? Because having this much caffeine, his heart was going bananas.
So yeah, it can stimulate. So your heart rate can go up, your blood pressure can go up, and it can cause arrhythmias. So arrhythmias is a discoordination of how the heart beats. So last week when we were talking about tetralogy of Fallot, we talked about the different chambers of the heart. You have the 2 filling chambers and the 2 pumping chambers. So there's a coordinated movement stimulated by a number of things, the hormones, electrical circuitry, where the heart fills, it beats, puts the heart into the filling, from the filling chambers to the pumping chambers. Those pump and get the heart to the lungs and the body. So if that's not pumping in a coordinated manner, you can get turbulence, you can get a number of things, and so the blood can't effectively get to your body. So if that happens, you can have chest pain, you can have low blood pressure, you can have high blood pressure, you cannot effectively have the blood getting to the place it needs, and you can actually have a heart attack. So for him, the processes with the caffeine caused the problem that, based on the coroner's report, seems to be more likely to have caused a cardiac event, which unfortunately were fatal, and our heart goes out to his family, because what an unfortunate preventable thing. And this apparently, from reports, was not a young man that was looking for excessive things. And you can see everywhere around the corner there is a coffee shop with,
yeah.
with very
They're popping up
large
everywhere.
large
And they
amounts.
don't card you. It's not like you got to be 21. I mean, when it comes to teenagers and caffeine, is it that much more dangerous? You know, I never had coffee when I was a
Me
kid.
either.
Right? Starbucks didn't
No.
exist, even though I'm quite young. But you know, so to
Alternative
think
facts.
that kids at any age can go in and
But
whatever.
one thing to be mindful of, about more than 90% or so of caffeine that's taken and consumed by adolescents and young people is not coffee, it's tea and sodas.
Yeah,
So be mindful that caffeine is
And
not
the
just
energy
in
drinks.
Yeah, and the energy drinks. These are filled with caffeine, so you have to be very mindful where the source of caffeine is, and be mindful. Children younger than 12 should not have any kind of caffeine, or you have to be very mindful about the small amounts and
Younger than
limited amounts.
12.
Yeah, because think about
You know
this.
how many kids I see that's 5, 6, 7 years
Sure.
old walking around with the Starbucks cup?
Well, they may not have coffee. It
I
may
hope not.
Be,
So think about it this way. So when you're young, and especially when you're younger than 4, your brain's developing. So if you're taking something that could be anxiety provoking, and not necessarily that you're anxious, but it's stimulating. And your brain is trying to develop, and it may affect sleep. We all know, based on multiple studies, that sleep is very important to a developing brain. So if you take something that may not allow a developing child to have the sleep it needs for the brain to develop, that could potentially hinder the developing brain. So children under 4 really shouldn't have any kind of caffeinated beverage, or very limited. After 4, also limited. Doesn't mean you can't have a soda every once in a while, but children at those ages really shouldn't have more than 45 milligrams a day, and caffeine really shouldn't be a part of their daily diet.
Why do they need it? They have so much energy as it is, or they should anyway.
So you have to be very, very mindful. So again, talk to your pediatrician, talk to your doctors, be mindful, and even as adults, be mindful. These things can have impact. There are benefits with caffeine, again in moderation. 300 to 400 milligrams, 3 to 4 cups a day. They can have impacts. For us as urologists, it can affect urination. It can cause insomnia. It can cause various different after. And everyone's different. People have unique sensitivities to caffeine, and they have unique sensitivities to coming off of caffeine. So be very mindful. If you're concerned about a problem, talk to your doctor about it. And again, with people younger than 18, parents, be mindful that these things can have effect. And the beverages that are of concern aren't necessarily always coffee. They can be soft drinks. They can be some of these beverages, and they seem very attractive to children, and they don't seem like you're doing drugs or drinking. Alcoholic beverages, so be very, very careful when you're taking these beverages.
Now, another thing we want to talk to you about, a headline that new hepatitis C virus infections in the United States have nearly tripled since 2010. So what is going on with this? Why are they going up?
So one thing we've been talking a lot about, which makes a lot of sense why this may potentially happen. Remember, we've been talking a lot about the opioid crisis.
Yes.
Okay.
It's huge.
It's very huge, and it's affecting a lot of different places, rural America, the Northeast, a lot of different places. It's affecting young people. And one of the things that the opioid crisis has translated into is an increase in heroin use, because opioids, morphine, Dilaudid, various different narcotic pain medications are in the same family as heroin. So when you can't get the prescription pain medication, sometimes it's easier to get the illicit drugs on the street, which may be cheaper and easier to get. So when you do that, heroin, an easy transmission or easy mode of getting heroin is with IV drugs, and a way that you can get hepatitis C, or any hepatitis really that's a bloodborne illness, is with IV drug use. And so what they have found is between the times that they were studying this, 2010, 2015, in the United States, the rate of hepatitis C has nearly tripled, and a big portion and a big responsible population was young people between 20 and 29, and a big portion has been the heroin use and the IV drug use associated with that.
So I want to ask a question only because it's personal.
I look forward.
What happens if this hep C goes untreated?
So, chronic hepatitis C. So hepatitis, you can have an acute illness where it affects your liver in the short term, or it can go on over a period of time. And between 5 to 20% of people with chronic hepatitis C can develop cirrhosis over time, where your liver gets affected, and that person over time will need a transplant. It can also cause a liver cancer
Wow.
Which is a significant problem down the line. And that's a big problem. Nowadays, fortunately, there's some medications that have recently come out that can be curative for hepatitis C. There is no vaccine, but the treatment for it is incredibly expensive from that standpoint. So there's a medicine, Harvoni, which has come out. You see the TV commercials for it, but it is an expensive medication, which is very, very new, but it can, in a very short period of time, be curative for hepatitis C. But the best way to avoid hepatitis C is to get treated, and the best way is to get tested. And a challenge with that is a lot of people that get infected with hepatitis C don't know that they have it because it's not symptomatic when you get it.
So what are the symptoms? How would one know that they can possibly have it?
So once you start getting symptoms with the liver, you can get things, you know, the thing that people think about with liver disease and hepatitis is that you get jaundice, which means your skin turns yellow, your eyes get yellow, but that's if you're getting a significant issue or an acute hepatitis. People can just kind of feel fatigued. They can get joint pain, they can get abdominal pain, they can get dark urine, you know, from that standpoint. So that's one thing that you can feel. If you can feel itchy. If you have any of these things, make sure you go talk to your doctor from that standpoint, because those can be signs of hepatitis. And then anytime you have a fever that's significant, more than 101.5, more than 101, that doesn't seem to have an explanation, and it's beginning to rise, make sure you touch base with your doctor.
And don't they just test it by taking your blood and they
Yeah, they do that. Again, things to be mindful to get tested. If you've ever had IV drug use, if you've had a blood transfusion from someone that has found to have a hepatitis C, organ transplantation or blood transfusions before July of 1992, and if you've had any kind of blood product for the treatment of blood clotting or blood diseases before 1987, if you're born between 1945 and 1965, so the baby boomer generation, long-term kidney dialysis patients, HIV positive patients, and if you were born to a mother with hepatitis C, those are patients or people who is very important to get tested, because your potential risk of having hepatitis C that you don't know about because they're not yet symptomatic is very important.
Okay, now before we let you go,
yes, ma'am,
a little birdie told us that
it's your birthday.
It's your
Go doctor. It's your birthday. Hey, go doctor. Go doctor.
Usually a versus surprise.
No, he did it. I didn't say
No,
it was
Henny
gonna
kind of ruined
happen.
the surprise,
Henny
but it
did it.
doesn't matter. You
Henny's the
didn't
one that
know.
did it.
Look at this. It's your very own bottle of
well,
the
thank you very much.
wine.
Chad Vino.
How about that?
I didn't know
It's
you guys
from our
had your
vineyard out
vineyard.
back.
I did not
Our
know that
vineyard
you
is
guys
out
had a
back.
vineyard. Wow.
Yeah, we do.
We do. We do. It's
But
out
we,
back in the parking lot.
Yeah, but we, you know, access is
explains a
very
lot,
limited.
actually.
All of our feet squish the grapes.
Yes.
So you'll love it.
So it is going to taste so good. So you enjoy that as you celebrate your birthday. We're going to
Thank
let you
you
go.
so
We
much.
gotta
Happy birthday,
go. You're
Doc.
welcome.
That
Have a wonderful
explains
day.
a lot about the show.
Yes, it does. All right, thank you for joining us. This medical contribution furnished by Kasraeian Urology. You can hear more from Dr. Kasraeian. He has a weekend radio show, The Conversation, Saturdays in WOKV from 5 to 6. Be sure to join us next Thursday. We're going to talk with Dr. Ali about some amazing new advances in the field of fertility. Coming up next, good news. If you put off spring cleaning, we're going to get you tips on how to get organized from the inside out when we come back.
I teach.
To be a role model.
I teach because I truly